Join the New Zealand Alpine Club today and be a part of New Zealand's proud mountain community, supporting adventure since 1891. Membership benefits include discounts at our extensive network of huts nationwide, a range of courses and learning opportunities for aspiring climbers, led by the country's best instructors, a subscription to The Climber, New Zealand's only magazine devoted to climbing, as well as the New Zealand Alpine Journal. Travel insurance options allowing for climbing and other adventure activities not covered by standard policies. Perfect for your next adventure abroad. Plus, New Zealand Alpine Club membership also grants a variety of discounts at ski fields, climbing walls, and outdoor retailers nationwide. Leadership and community for all who enjoy and wish to protect our magnificent crags and mountain spaces. The New Zealand Alpine Club, a voice for New Zealand's mountain lovers. Join us today. For more information, visit alpineclub.org.nz.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to this, the first of the New Zealand Alpine Club's evening presentations. And tonight we have a live Q&A with the Alpine Club's venerable president, Lindsay Smith. My name is Jazz Morris. I'm in the Canterbury Western section, coming to you live from my bedroom, as is the norm these days. And with me as well, as I mentioned, we've got Lindsay Smith, who's the Alpine Club's president and has been in that role for a year, and has been also in the role of incoming president for the preceding year, so sort of 2 years into it. And tonight what we're going to be doing is having a bit of a quick fire round of questions with Lindsay in order to go through, for you, the members, essentially what is the role of the president, and how is the Alpine Club responding to the quite extraordinary challenges of the moment? And essentially this is also an opportunity for us to give back to members and provide some general information about the Alpine Club, and more importantly than that, a really interesting talk which is going to immediately follow this Q&A, being presented by none other than Lindsay's son, Riley, who's just come back from Niseko in Japan, from a winter of ski touring and ski instructing over there. To kick things off, we'll introduce Lindsay. And Lindsay, we're just going to go through a bit of a quick round of questions. They might be pretty brief, and then we'll get into some more meaty ones. And for anyone who's watching us and has a question for Lindsay, just pop them into the chat on the Facebook page, and we should be able to pick those up, and we'll pass those on. So, Lindsay, tell us about yourself. Name.
Right, Lindsay Smith.
Role in the New Zealand Alpine Club.
19 years ago, in fact, it's quite funny. I actually joined the same month that Riley was born, so that's why it sticks in my mind. So 19 years, started here in the Otago section, and my first role in the committee was the newsletter editor.
Very good. And whereabouts are you coming to us from tonight?
From the basement of our garage.
Which is where?
In Dunedin.
Oh, very good. All right.
Yeah.
Well, I know that because I know you, but
yeah. Exactly.
People at home. Now, Lindsay, a few quick questions for you. Summer or winter, mate?
Oh, summer. Warm, yeah. Definitely.
Very good. Rock or snow?
Oh, that's like asking which child to pick from.
All right. Mountaineering or skiing?
Mountaineering. My 1976 ski boots need replacing before I get back into skiing again.
That's just an excuse. Slay the powder in those. Beer or wine?
Definitely beer, craft beer. Yep.
Yeah, good. All right. And this is probably one of the more controversial questions. Home or hut or Unwin Lodge?
Oh, home or hut. But I have to say, if my favourite hut out of all of them is Cascade Hut.
Oh, all right. Good answer.
Yeah, there's something special about that place. Yeah.
Third party candidate. Right.
Yeah. I've just got such lovely memories of it, and the best things I've seen in the Alpine Club in terms of, the work that people have done looking after it, and the relationship with the Espinals, and there's something special at that place.
Brilliant. All right. Backcountry hut or camping? You might have just answered that.
Yeah, I mean, huts now, I think camping, but once you get into my age, you do prefer a mattress, even a squeaky plastic one.
Well, here's another controversial one. Would you prefer your boots to be one size too big or too small?
Oh, definitely too big.
Yeah. All right. Fair enough. Yeah. So more about comfort than performance.
Absolutely.
Yeah. No, that's a good.
I mean, when you look at this body, that's comfort's far more important than performance.
Oh, come now! You're only a spring chicken.
Absolutely.
I remember the day you retired not so long ago. I mean, you're only just getting into it.
Absolutely.
Climate change, biggest issue facing the world. What do you reckon? Yes, no.
It's for me, it is the biggest issue that we have to deal with it as a people. The underlying thing that we're ignoring is the need to change our whole economy, because as long as we keep basing our economy on raping and pillaging and growth, then we're never going to beat climate change. We have to look at the way we use things differently. And I have to say, this last 3 weeks has been an absolute eye-opener, and A, what you can do without, and B, how different the places are. And I mean, we've all seen the photos from India of being able to see 100 kilometres into the mountains, where before you couldn't see the end of the street. And I mean, if the economy in 3 weeks can recover like that, changing the economy, then that's the hope for climate change for me.
All right. And what's the single most important aspect of the New Zealand Alpine Club to you?
Oh, it's people. Right from day one, it's the people. Yeah.
Good one. All right. So we're going to get into some more meatier questions now, so that people can kind of get to know you. Now, the first question that I'm going to ask is about your motivation to stand for president, but that's a bit disingenuous, because you and I both know that the last president, JP, started ringing people up and said, "Who do you think should be president?" And I was one of the people who sort of basically sandbagged you with that role. But from your perspective, how did you end up in the role as president?
I've been watching what was happening with the governance changes, and was really quite excited about it. I mean, at one level, I'm a bit of a management, leadership, governance nerd, because the last 30-odd years I've been lucky enough to work for a range of organisations and seen good examples of leadership and management and governance, and bad examples. And the thought of being able to contribute to the Alpine Club through this period of change really was quite exciting for me. I mean, I'm retired, I've got a bit of time, and I thought, God, you've done a bit in your life, and to give back to something as important, the Alpine Club, sounded like a wonderful opportunity. The question I had was from quite a few people, what are you talking about change? I mean, it's perfectly fine. We've been going like this for 130 years. Why do you need to change it? And I think my answer to that is that the Alpine Club, there were some signs for me, and Jazz will know that, sort of how a grumpy old man I can turn into. There were some signs for me that we weren't following what was changing in the world. I mean, climbers are famously anarchic. They do what they want to do. When you think of the great climbers that New Zealand are famous for, they all just did what they wanted to do, and there's no way that they're going to conform, and no one was going to tell them what to do. And I think the Alpine Club still was a bit treating people like that, complete and utter freedom, do whatever you like. But the world's changing, and the world's demanding a different way of operating. And so what we finished up with was some members who could see the need for change, and some members who couldn't, and there were some tensions developing between them, from my perspective. And I'll give you one example, and I'm not trying to pick on people, but New Zealand have given us quite a lot of money over the years, and we're asking for more and more information from us to meet their masters around statistics and what we were doing with it and who was learning and all sorts of things like this. But when we were asking sections for all the stats and data, nearly half the sections didn't even bother responding. And I'm not saying that because it's a sign that they were failing. It's just a sign that we hadn't explained what we needed the information for. As a club, we didn't have a shared view of where we were all going. So for me, the opportunity to be part of that was just too exciting to miss. And because my ego is far better than my climbing, I thought I'd have a go.
Good one. Good answer. Right. Well, maybe that'll somewhat address my next question for you. What have been the highlights of your current term as president so far?
The first highlight is a really big thank you to the intelligent and talented members who elected the board that I've got working alongside me. And I mean that jokingly, but absolutely seriously. The Alpine Club is really, really fortunate with the board that's been elected. So the first thing is this team of people that are experienced, knowledgeable, a range of experiences, a range of needs, and I think they're going to represent you really, really well. So that was the first highlight for me. The second one is a bit of an embarrassing highlight, which is I didn't really understand just how many people were doing how much stuff behind the scenes for the club. And I mean, I'd been involved in the aspiring National Park Plan review and things like that, but I hadn't quite clicked just how many people there are at highly skilled levels that are working away behind the scenes on all sorts of projects that keep this club running. And I think one of the things I'd certainly like to see is those people, the general members, being much more aware of who those people are and what they're doing for the club. And the final highlight for me, really, I have to say, has been the getting to know the staff in Christchurch. As Jazz will know, I, in my time as president of Otago section, could be a bit of a grump when I was thinking sometimes of headquarters and what they wanted from us and how Otago wasn't going to do what they wanted to do. And when you get to meet them, and I think the team that we've got there now, we're really, really lucky we've got those as we're going through this COVID crisis at the moment. And that's certainly been a highlight for me, the team in Christchurch.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. Anyone who's spent serious time with the Alpine Club knows that its staff work much longer hours than they're paid for, and volunteers do, some of them almost as many hours for no money, and we really are blessed with some quite extraordinary people. So I entirely agree with you there. You touched on COVID, which is obviously the word of the month, and maybe for some months to come. How's the Alpine Club rising to the challenge and obviously the severe limitations? I mean, we're coming to you tonight from bedrooms and basements, and we're not able to be together in person. How is the Alpine Club able to handle that challenge?
It's been an absolutely fascinating experience, and as I mentioned about the team in Christchurch, I just, in the early sort of days of it, really felt for Karen, because she was putting her heart and soul into preparing briefings for members on what was happening. She'd get it all ready to send out. And by the time it was ready to go, some new announcement had been made and something had been changed, and the whole lot was on its head, and things that we thought we might be able to do, we couldn't do. And there was just it was frightening to see the impact and how deep it went into what we do, and looked at almost everything the Alpine Club provides, and we have to stop. So this is why things like this are wonderful. But the huts are closed, the instructions closed, the Tuesday night rock climbing, everything's shut. And the other side of that, of course, is that the money flow stopped as well. And so when the board met very early on, just 3 weeks ago, our first focus really was, what the hell are we going to do to keep our head above water while we work out what we're going to do? So the board meeting really focused on essential services. What is it that we have to do to keep going? And I think, as I put out in my note, we first thing was we really needed to give the staff some certainty was what was going on. And fortunately, the government subsidy's been wonderful for that. And we have been able to say to the staff that we can guarantee employment up till the end of June. Now, after that, we'll talk about that in a sec.
Mm.
But the other thing that we did as a board was trying to think of what it is that we can be doing in the short term to keep things going, to keep at least some interest. And once again, I think the staff have come into their own, and Francis has been absolutely amazing. Just the stuff he's been putting up and things like that, just so you feel like you're still part of a community.
Mm-hmm.
The next stage for us really is we're having another board meeting next week, when we hope we've got a bit more clarity. And today helped when the whole idea around what level 3 is going to look like came out. What we don't know is how long that's going to last, but at least we can say it looks like level 3 is not going to be much change for us from level 4. In terms of the Alpine Club operation, we're not going to run courses. We're still not going to be have Tuesday night rock climbing. And probably still not going to be able to have section nights with, less than 10 people. And of course, the big one is, what are we doing with our planning for BAM? Because that's not something you can turn on in 10 minutes. So at this stage, I've got no real answers of what the board's going to come up with. But we are going to have to take some long, hard looks at who we are, what we do, and how we're going to survive financially. Mm-hmm. And it's tough times. I mean, it's relatively simple for me. Thanks to all you taxpayers out there, I get a pension. So in fact, I got a rise. But I am conscious of how many people are badly affected by this. And, we can be glib and lighthearted about it, but there's going to be real pain. There's one thing, though, I would make a sort of a personal plea, I guess, is as we go to level 3 and move down to level 2, can we please make sure that as members we are conservative in what we do and don't push the rules? Because although it's talking about under level 3 that we can travel regionally, that doesn't mean I can travel to the end of Otago to go climbing at Aspiring Hut or up into French Ridge or something like that. The other thing is, can we be just careful also when we're commenting on particularly the NZAC website of what we say about other organisations, the government and things like that. And I'm not trying to stifle conversation, but what I'm thinking at the back of my mind and very conscious of, in the next few months, there's going to be a huge political push from all sorts of organisations wanting to change the rules so they can get their tourism businesses up and running and established and doing all sorts of things. And there are going to be organisations that want to bend the rules. They're going to want to be able to run jet boat trips up here and helicopter trips in there just to try and get some money flying. And I'd like to be able to ensure that the Alpine Club can still stand up in front of whatever committee it is, and whether it's the board or Karen or a team, and say what we believe needs to happen and not get shot down by someone who says, oh, it's all right with you. We just had, 6 climbers rescued off the side of something by helicopter. Mm. It's not trying to shut down things, but I think, once again, if we understand selfishly, if we can just be a bit conservative for the next little while and not be the organisation that hits the front page, then that would be a great thing to do.
Yeah, a good comment. There was a van-dwelling gentleman who was in the news recently for rock climbing during the lockdown, and we all feel the temptation. I know that I'm allowed to run past the crags, which seems a bit of a cruel irony. But certainly that just paints us in a bad light, and that'll actually be relevant when I get to some of the member questions that have been popping up. One of them sort of speaks to our response to COVID-19 and our kind of credibility and advocacy, but we'll get to that in a minute. I want to ask you quickly, many of our members will be aware that the role of the president is a slightly strange one. You are the president-elect for a year, and then you're the president for a year, and then you're the outgoing president for a year. So it's kind of a 3-year term. But at all times except for 1-year chunks, there's 2 presidents in a strange way. And we now have the election coming up for the president-elect. Nominations are open and close on the 5th of June. for any member to be to put themselves forward for the presidency, and essentially, what do you say to them? What kind of advice would you give? Who do you think that role's good? Who do you think is suitable for that role?
I mean, obviously, someone who's passionate about the Alpine Club and climbing and whatever form of climbing that is. And I mean, even these days, we let rock climbers into the Alpine Club and boulderers as well, which some members are not happy with at all, particularly indoor. I mean, it was interesting when we were putting together the strategic plan, and someone thought, indoor boulders, how would you let them into the Alpine Club? But anyways, cut that aside. I think someone who's got something to offer, you need to have some experience of a complex organisation. And I just didn't realise, even myself, I guess, how complex it was, because it's not like running a business, because you do have volunteers and you do have relationships with a whole lot of other organisations. So someone would need to have some skills, I think, in complex organisations. And the other thing, and it's a personal one for me, I guess, is real skills in getting the best out of people. This is not a job for some boss to come in and tell everybody what to do. That would be a disaster in this new governance structure. But we've got such a talented board and such great staff and so many wonderful volunteers. If you've got skills in bringing people together to get the best out of them, then this is a dream job for you.
Good one. Thanks very much, Lindsay. Now, getting through a few of the other weighty questions that are appropriate for someone in your role, in particular for those rock climber types who are now perfectly valid members of the Alpine Club, or have you know. A lot of them based in the North Island, are quite rightly worried about access to crags, and probably wanting to know what the NZAC is doing about that, and in particular how the role of the president can be helpful in that area.
I think this is one of my greatest excitements, because I can remember it must have been 4 or 5 years ago when JP first came and talked to us, when he was president-elect, about this whole access issue. And it really sparked something for me, because I know the focus at the moment is on the North Island crags, but for me it's a much, much bigger issue than that. There are dozens of factors which are affecting our access. So it's tenure review, it's ownership, overseas ownership of high country land. It docks confusion about its role. It just goes on and on and on. As I said before about the tourism numbers, they're the things that are affecting our access as much as closing off crags are. And I think what I'm absolutely thrilled, this board is excited about doing something about it. Now, we don't have all the answers yet, but JP had put together a plan some time ago to establish a trust to fund some action in this area. Because up till now, really what we've done as an Alpine Club is relied on volunteers to pick up when something's gone wrong and then try and fix it. And it would be wonderful to have a proactive part of the team that actually solves things before they became problems. It gets out there involved with other people. It gets involved with groups. And my favourite one, which people hear me go on and on about all the time, is access over farms. And as I've said once before, in the Derek Chen's article, my daughter and her husband are farmers, and their health and safety advisor told them quite clearly not to allow people onto their land because they'd get sued if something went wrong. Now, it's not true, and people have done some excellent work on finding what the facts are, but we haven't disseminated it out to federated farmers. We don't have someone that's got the time or effort or energy to go. And so for me, the idea of having a dedicated resource available to handle access, to start those negotiations before it turns into problems, and even little things like, you might remember Jess down here in Dunedin, just working out who owns the land under the creeks we climb on. I mean, an absolute, and people don't realise that, most of Makiwaka is owned by New Zealand Railways, and the Long Beach is owned by the City Council, and we should be talking to groups like that before it goes wrong. So I'm excited about. We've got nothing yet, And obviously COVID's sort of taken our eye off the ball a wee bit, but I'd like to think that's an area that we really can move into.
Mm-hmm. Good one. And just addressing some of the questions coming through on Facebook, a couple of them have been about access, and in particular one from Sam Gary is concerned about access in the Pisa range. Sam, I'm going to not pass your question on to Lindsay just now, because I don't know if, I can't imagine it will necessarily have his expertise, but I'll pass it on to the general manager because it's quite a specific question, Lindsay. I can't imagine it will come across your desk just yet. So then carrying on with the line of quite big picture questions, I suppose. Where do you see the Alpine Club in 10 more years, or in 30 more years?
In another 10 years, I think it'll still be doing what it's doing now. I mean, climbers will still be climbing, and we'll still be reading about people's successes and publications, and there'll still be guidebooks, and still be using huts and things like that. But I suspect it'll be quite different. And just what we're doing tonight has triggered things in people's minds that we could have more section nights like this. And people like tonight, and I'm not sure if he's logged on or not, but I just got an email from someone in Japan who's going to log on tonight, an Alpine Club member, to watch the presentation. So, I mean, those sort of things could well change.
Mm.
But I'd also like to think that the Alpine Club will be different. And I personally would like to see us a little more outwardly focused. And I think we are very focused on looking after the members, which is fine, but we're missing some opportunities, I think, to be part of the bigger picture in New Zealand. We are valued, our opinions are valued, and we are trusted, and I think we should be making more use of that. The other thing I'd like to see, certainly in 10 years' time, is the Alpine Club finally becoming one club rather than sort of a straggly group of sections who retain the anarchic rules to do whatever they like. Now, I'm not talking about control from the centre, but I'm talking about working out a structure where that everybody has a genuine opportunity to have a say, have their say, and to be listened to. And that would certainly be my hope. And the other thing I'd like to see the club and us as individuals to become more environmentally aware and to understand our partnerships with tangata whenua perhaps better than we do.
Mm.
And I'm not just thinking about crag access, I'm thinking about genuine acknowledging of the importance of the treaty to us as New Zealanders.
And I think we need to do a better job at recognising special places as well, that are not necessarily on the Pakeha radar.
Yep.
So Daniel, who's in Twizel, he's asked through the Facebook chat, which anyone, by the way, can add to. Well, we've got Lindsay on the line. He's based in Twizel and obviously can't get to any section meetings because he's pretty far away from any headquarters of any section. So is the Alpine Club, do you think, going to continue doing these sorts of nights? Is this forced us into this situation, forced us into realizing how easy it is and how the technology is there?
Yeah, I mean, I'd hate to lose the face-to-face get-togethers because, I mean, there's something special, particularly when, as a new climber, you wander around and here's these craggy old bastards that share their stories. And, I mean, I'd hate to lose that side of it.
Yeah.
I also think there is opportunity for climbers, in weird places like Twizel, who have climbing walls even though Dunedin doesn't. There are opportunities to do more of this. I mean, made it a formal thing or an informal thing or a monthly thing, or where, a section's had an outstanding speaker and we talk them into running the presentation again on a monthly basis through something like this.
Many of the members will have seen already some section talks coming through on the internet. And apologies to anyone who is seeing me for the second time in a week as a result of that. Not quite the outstanding speaker that Lindsay's necessarily talking about just now, but
it's pretty good, Jazz.
We're doing what we can. Let's put it that way. We work with what we've got. So now, going to get it to a couple more member questions. Harvey from Wellington is not a member. He's done a 1 week sort of snowcraft type course and a week-long avalanche course. What are the next steps for him to progress and get involved?
Well, I mean, I'm an absolutely great believer in becoming a member. I mean, it worked so well for me right back in the days when I began as an elderly gentleman even then. But just that, as I said before, meeting other people and the encouragement that they were able to give. Oh, you could come along on this, you could do this, you could do that. And that was the bit that got me really hooked on this club. And when I said back at the beginning that people are the most important, that was what sold me. It's that meeting up with the people and being taken under people's wings. And I mean that, and I will always have huge gratitude to Keith Moffat for carting me off here, there, and everywhere as a rather unfit elderly gentleman. But that's the sort of thing that I think a new interested clubber can gain from. Go and meet up with the club, and they'll catch you off somewhere soon.
Good one, Lindsay. And I'll actually add to that, Harvey. The Alpine Club's Climbing and Instruction Committee recently finalised a multi-year process of trying to address the very question you're asking around what does progression look like as a mountaineer, and in particular a mountaineer within the NZAC community. And that's now online in the form of a series of kind of resources and pictorial kind of representations and suggestions on what to do in terms of developing personally as a climber, in terms of your own trips, and what other courses and things like that are run by the Alpine Club. So there's a couple of different parallel paths that that you can take in terms of personal development and skill building in a formal setting. And the Alpine Club has just recently kind of put that together to answer that very question you raised. Hillary asks, is the Alpine Club advocating for a rapid return to dock tracks and huts in the COVID context? Because she points out that allowing camping within your own bubble would seem like a pretty low-risk activity. And I'm sure many of us have had the same sort of thought about, some remote huts and camping. Doesn't seem like a way of spreading a disease, but at the same time, where does the NZAC sort of sit in that advocacy space, and has it considered,
Certainly that's something we will talk about at the board meeting. It's on the agenda for next Thursday night. At the moment, we've taken the very clear stance as a board and Karen and the management team as followers of dock policy. We certainly aren't trying to fight them or argue with them or anything. This is not the time for that. But I think as we move through level 3 into level 2, then, as I said before, that's when I'd like us to be able to stand up at those meetings or to have our opinion heard, because I think there are some things that we could do, as Jazz says, that are quite safe. And certainly getting into the outdoors with a tent seems like a no-brainer to me.
Yeah, well, and we all look forward to seeing, when level 3 happens, what level 2 looks like and when that happens. But I think obviously probably our best step as individuals for the next few weeks is to stay in our bubbles and, eliminate this disease, and then it'll become a lot easier to answer these.
New Zealand's in a wonderful, wonderful position with the borders that we've got, that if we do a good job for the next, however painful it is, for the next few weeks, we could, as selfish New Zealanders, return to quite a normal life quite quickly. And the only real risks then is when we start letting Australians in.
Yeah, well, that's always been a risk, diseased or otherwise, isn't it? With apologies and thanks to our valued Australian members. This is all in the spirit of good humour. I hope you'll agree. Just looking as well at the chat, we haven't got any more questions that I can see, but just a few comments to share with you, Lindsay, and for the others watching. We've got quite a few comments that you're a good role model. That's pretty nice. And someone tuning in from Korea, Kia ora Gerard, coming from Korea. That's great. Yeah. If you'll bear with me, I'll just double check if there's anything else. No, we're looking good.
If people do have questions that they thought of afterwards, or even if they have a chat, I love hearing from people. President@alpineclub.org.nz. just send me an email, and I do tend to respond occasionally.
I'm glad to hear it. Well, what we're going to do now is we're going to transition into the second half of the evening presentation. Thank you very much, Lindsay. It's been great to chat with you, and thank you very much for providing that insight into the role of the president and what's happening in the NZAC at the moment. What we're going to do now is we're going to swap out Lindsay for his younger equivalent.
What's that transition?
Riley's been lurking in the background. So Riley Smith is not in any position of authority within the New Zealand Alpine Club. He was formerly the chairperson of the Otago section. He's presently a ski bum without any snow. And he's going to be giving us a presentation this evening, highlights of his season of ski instruction in Niseko, Japan. I'm going to come back on at the end and talk to you and pass on some questions that we get through the chat, Riley.
Sounds good.
What I believe is going to happen now is Francis from the Alpine Club, who's running this show very smoothly at the back end, he's going to turn off my video and bring you on, and then you'll share your screen and we'll get away with it.
Sounds good. All right.
Thanks.
Bear with everybody for some inevitable technical difficulties. Yeah. All right. I hope everyone's got their beverage of choice. I think one thing about being stuck with your parents that's really good is that there's plenty of craft beer in supply. And at the moment, I haven't had to pay for any of it, so let's try and keep it that way. Awesome. So, should I just start sharing my screen then? Yeah, all right. Cool. Let's hope this works. It's really weird. It's so weird, actually. It feels like a job interview because I can't see anyone or feel anyone, so bear with me. And I want to say before I start also that a lot of these photos are like off my phone because I was either too in the moment or I'm too excited or anything to take a camera out. So most of it's my phone, but let's see if this works. So should I shut it down and start up again like last one? Because I don't think it will go through like last time. Oh, will work. Oh, easy. Okay, cool. Right. So my name is Riley Smith. I'm Lindsay Smith's son. I used to be a part of the Alpine Club. I still part of the Alpine Club. I used to be part of the Otago section. I used to be the chair for like 2 years, I think. And Dad got me into climbing. And then I think butting into someone else's question before about the Alpine Club, I really, really appreciated the work from other people when I started, and it was how I got into mountaineering. Like it was a lot of Dad, but it was also when I joined the club, like I met so many people, and exactly as they said, like got taken out on loads of different trips. That's how I started mountaineering and rock climbing. And so now I'm talking about skiing. So last season, or I'll start off with, I skied at Cadrona a lot when I was little. Maybe a lot for someone from Dunedin. Maybe 2 weekends a year. This is me dressed up. I think there's 3 main important things about skiing, and the first one is you have to look cool, and then the second one is you have to have the cool gear, and then the third one is, well, you should be able to ski as well, but it's definitely down the line in importance. Obviously here you've got to have the gap of the goggles that makes you look really cool, and a reflective helmet. But anyway, so I started skiing when I was 3 and decided I wanted to be a ski instructor when I was quite little, and got shut down by Dad. He said to me that people from Dunedin can't be a ski instructor, Riley, just because you don't ski every day. You never quite make it to like that level, which isn't true. You can be a ski instructor from everywhere, and I didn't do it just to prove you wrong, but so I moved to Wanaka after high school. I did an instructor training program through Cadrona called ITC, Instructor Training Cadrona. And it really was an awesome way to get launched into the industry and meet lots of people. And I eventually landed a job in Japan because of it. Here's me leaving the doorstep. about to go to Japan. Here's my advice before we even start. Make sure you buy, if you haven't traveled with skis before overseas, make sure you buy a bag with wheels, because you will love yourself for it, not having to lug over your shoulder like your ski bag, and then you'll pack over one shoulder and then you'll like backpack on the other shoulder. It saves so much when you've got wheels. So notice for later that I've also got a tramping pack on, which is I was planning to do traveling afterwards, but we will talk about that later. So I flew to a place in Japan, in the Northern Island. In the top left corner, there's a map there. I went to a place called Hokkaido. That's the island's name. And I flew to Sapporo, where the beer's from. And I had to train basically from, I don't know if this mouse will come up, maybe it will. Basically train from Sapporo to where the red arrow is on the bottom screen. A place called Niseko, which you've probably heard of. And so a massive thing that first hit me when I went to Japan was the just crazy culture shock. Everything is obviously so different, and just being from Dunedin, little old Dunedin, it really got me. A few things to note is in Japan, the way things run is that everything is wrapped in plastic, which by the end of the season, we got really good at saying no plastic bag, please, or I don't want any plastic bags at the supermarket or whatever. And for example, on the left, you can see a photo of some apples, and they are wrapped in just plastic. Even the sticks are wrapped in plastic. It's pretty bad. Although there is really good bin sorting system, especially where I was. I had 6 different bins in my apartment for different kinds of plastic, for paper, cardboard, all of the above. And I don't know if it really properly got recycled and stuff, but I'd like to think so, if they make so much effort for all the different rubbishes. And then in the middle, here's some more culture shock for me. These are Mickey Mouse steaks, and in the top right, it says mini sutaki, so mini steak for children. And I thought, another thing to note, before I left New Zealand, at high school, I learned Japanese for 3 years, and it was very, very helpful when I went there, although I still am very useless at it. It's quite difficult. Well, I found it quite difficult. But for silly little things like reading stuff on packaging like that, it was really, really handy. And then on the far right, there's a photo of Sapporo. Some cool, Dunedin's not like that, definitely. Maybe close to Auckland, but it's not quite the massive skyrise city that you'd expect. But if you're flying to Japan, you would most likely fly to Sapporo, and it's a good place to start your adventure. You can go north or south to ski from there. So from Sapporo, I trained to a place called Kuchan, which is that red arrow. That's where I lived for the season in staff accommodation. And then every day we'd bus to where the yellow arrow is at the resort. So that's Niseko, and we were based out of Grand Harafu. So I'll explain a bit later, but there's 4 different ski fields there, what I'd call a ski field. And I got ripped out a lot for this while I was over there for calling them ski fields, because it's actually a resort. So there you go. And before I forget, just some interesting information about the area. I've got it written down so I don't forget. If you're interested, the snowfall, the reason why I get so much is because it's orographic snowfall, and it comes from Siberia, of all places, which is surprisingly I didn't really realize how close Japan is to Russia and China, very, very close. So that's where we get our snow from over there. And average is 14 meters a year. And this year was a pretty rubbish season. You probably heard that. We got 5 meters this year, which is apparently the worst in 20 years. But for a New Zealander, it was pretty insane. It was still completely exceeded my expectation. Cool. The dark blue arrow is Mount Yote. That's what I'll talk about soon. And it is just a massive cone volcano in the area. Around the ski field, pretty close. Cool. So we arrived pretty soon afterwards. So I left New Zealand on the 28th of November. And so as soon as I got there, it was December, early December, got really, really cold, snowed a bunch. And then it was Christmas time before we even knew it. We started working. I'll explain these photos really quickly. So the far left is some big chandelier icicles off one of the buildings in Kuchan, and Noah standing underneath for some scale. I think some of the ones I saw around you could definitely try and climb. More on that later. And then the middle two photos, more about the plastic. So talking about Christmas, Christmas biscuits or something, I don't know, a bit sweet. And it was English, so, just a bit of a treat. And then the individually wrapped biscuits. So that was very, very, very common. And then on the far right is me in my uniform, dressed up as Santa Claus on Christmas Day. And I'll talk a little bit about teaching as well. So I taught children in Japan, and I actually really liked it. They were cool. So I could teach anything from a 3-year-old to an 18-year-old, which was really interesting, the 18-year-olds that I taught, because I was 18 when I was teaching them. So you had to teach them and then not give any facts away and let them know that you're 18 as well, because that would be quite, condescending. Anyway, so this is a map of the ski field of where we were based. It's huge, I think, and don't quote me here, but I'm pretty sure that from the summit, I can use my mouse, I think. I have to look at the screen, I'm sorry. But from the summit, I think it's 200 meters from one side of the summit to the other. There's sort of two mini summits. And then from Hanazono ski field on the far right, all the way around to Inapuri is around 20 kilometers. Now that's what I've heard. So probably lies, but anyway, so there's 4 separate ski fields here that you can use one pass for. So from going from left to right is Inapuri, Niseko Village, Niseko Harafu, and then Hanazono. And if you can see my mouse, I don't know, maybe not, probably not in your phone and stuff. But we were based out of Grand Harafu ski field right at the bottom there. And during our lessons could teach at any resort, which was pretty insane. A lot of responsibility there. But I would usually hang, and most of the staff would usually hang between Harafu and Hanazono on the right there. And that's just literally because the rest of them kind of take more than 2 hours to get there and back. And it was sort of like a bit sketch. If you've got a kid that yard sales, loses all their stuff and throws a bit of a fuss, then things quickly take a long time. And people came back late a few times, so that was a bit scary, get grilled by some parents. Sweet. So this was peak season for us. This is Christmas time. So there's 3 peak seasons. And for an instructor, peak season is the time to earn money. So Christmas, New Year's, and then Chinese New Year were our 3 peak seasons this year. And for us, basically, peak season means you get work all day, every day for a solid month. And so, there was massive amount of people in the area. The ski field was packed. It kind of looked like Cadrona sometimes on our school holidays. And we got 8 kids a day from 8 o'clock in the morning till 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and then sometimes a night lesson as well. And for us, because you get so much work, it was the best time to earn money and just save up until when it's quiet at the end of the season to not go crazy and work because you go skiing instead. So here's a couple of random photos. So on the far left, just some skiing around, and the top as well, skiing. There's a funny story behind that photo. I lucked out with my friend one day at work. So this is actually at work, despite no uniform. I basically got approached by the company and asked to take photos for the posters and stuff for next season for teen ski. So we run a program for teaching teenagers, and luckily for me, I was 18 at the time. So I'm on the cover. I was pretty stoked about that for next season. And we got paid for it. It was pretty cool. So that was my arrogant but dream come true, right? Getting photos and getting paid for it. Any 18-year-old's kind of dream. And then the bottom left, you've got teaching some little midgets. That's at the end of the season, so there's not many kids there. But usually we could have maybe about 160, loads in a day. So it was pretty full on sometimes. And just some other random photos from some mates and me in my uniform. But the peak season was pretty full on as well, just because we worked So like 2 solid weeks, and then you had a day off, or week with a day off, and then you had a week with 2 days off. So it was kind of like it went up. Yeah, as the amount of clients went up, our work just went crazy, and then it kind of mellowed out again. Yeah. And of course, we need food to keep us going as we are skiing. And so here's a bit of cultural, awesome food that we've got to try out. And I think I was living a bit like a ski bum dirtbag while I was there, but it's also all right to spend money because you're in a different country. So remember that when you go. There's so many different pictures in here. I hope you can see them all there. I just threw them on there. But there's different ramen. There's gyoza, which is like kind of like dumplings. And then just heaps of random crap. Soup curry, all awesome. I love Japanese food, and it was all pretty cheap. Sort of roughly, you could get dinner for about 7 or 8 New Zealand dollars, but you could spend as much as you want. Really, you could go to a flash like tourist place as well, which is, I mean, not too bad for some crazy good food. And then there's a photo of me there with a burger. I'm going to talk about that in a minute, but so keep that in mind. Yeah, so some food. And then here we go. This is Mount Yote, the big one. This is a photo from our locker room, our staff room. And so you could see during our peak season, we were just looking at this every day, and it was just snowing more and more and more. And so this is quite early season. It looks pretty grey. It got very snowy up there, and it just looked better and better the longer we skied on the resort. And so it was just too enticing. And really, when I got there, I never thought I'd be able to go and ski it. So I managed to scrape together enough gear, like Abbey gear and skis and stuff, of people on Facebook and all that kind of stuff. And we got a team together to go ski it. So to ski that, you need to get a car. Generally, you can go by public transport, but there was a few mates, so we grabbed a car. And I had my international driver's license, but at the time I didn't. So a friend drove. But to get the car was a really weird situation. There's a guy called Dodgy Yoshi, and I don't know how people know of him, but you basically message this guy on WhatsApp, and the number just gets passed around. So I messaged this guy on WhatsApp, and I said, can we please get this van? Here's a picture of the van from later on in the season, somewhere different. But here's the van. Can I please take the van for tomorrow? And it was, I think, 7,000 yen, for a 7-seater car. So it's like just under $100. So, I mean, not too bad. So that was cool. He messaged me back straight away. He's like, meet me outside your house. And he knew where I lived because I lived at the staff accommodation, and lots of people hire them. And I was like, cool. So I went downstairs, and this like really flash sports car pulled up, and I was like, oh, this is cool. Awesome. I can't wait to see what we've got. And then he drove me. He said, get in the car. And I was like, oh, okay. This is a bit fishy, but all right, I'll just go with it. I trust you. He drove me down to the train station, and there was the van in all its glory, covered in snow, like a foot of snow. And as I was getting into the car, this other Japanese guy came up to Yoshi, and they just started arguing, and I was just standing in between them, and I didn't know what to do. I was very scared. I couldn't understand much of it at all. Like, I can only understand useless things, really. And it was, pretty insane. I was a bit scared. Turns out that Yoshi just said to me that, don't worry, get in the car and you can drive off. It was just the guy from the train station telling him off for parking his car there too long. But it was very nerve-wracking at the time. Anyway, we left for Mount Yote at about 4:30 in the morning, I think. And we started skiing at about 5:20-ish. Yeah, so it's like a wee bit of a drive to get there. So we started in the dark. It was awesome. We didn't use torches, despite what it looks like in the flash of the photo. We didn't need them. It was like a full moon. It was amazing. It was probably one of the highlights of the trips for me. Just like empty, clean fields of snow, and we're just touring through. It was wicked. It was really like remote after being like around so many people for so long. And so then in the right photo, you can see the summer trail for Mount Yote as well. So we climbed up the Kyogoku route, random, but on the back side of Mount Yote from the ski field. And yeah, so we basically skied up a summer route, which was pretty cool. So yeah, the trees were awesome. It was like skiing Japan trees are insane. They're really spaced out, and when it's really foggy, you can still see really well. Just like unlike New Zealand, because they just cast shadows, I guess. Doesn't mean that it's not white out sometimes, because it is. But yeah, the trees do help. It was just beautiful. And notice there's not too much snow on the trees by Japan standards until this next slide. We got a bit higher up, and it got really cold and really snowy. So the day we did it was, I think, in February. So like nice midwinter condition, really, really good dry snow, Japan powder, Japao. And then, yeah, on the left, you can see Dom, frozen hair and everything. It was pretty cold. And yeah, I think where I was generally around -5 to 10. And some of the days we were teaching on could have been up to like -25-ish with the wind chill. So not quite like freezing Canada, but pretty cold. So yeah, enjoying the views. It was awesome. And then, yeah, got a really crazy descent. It was pretty wicked. Unfortunately, we didn't actually get to the top, which kind of sucked. I got a little bit of summit fever sometimes, but it fully whited out. And so because Yotei is like this perfect cone shape, it's pretty hard to find exactly where you're going to go down again without seeing things. And following your tracks is kind of hard. It got quite windy. So we just ended up turning around about 50 vertical from the summit, which kind of sucked, but whatever. It was really insane. We were there for the skiing, bit of an adventure. So on the far left is like kind of classic how it went as we were skiing down, not being able to see each other. Pretty insane ski that was. And then on the top right, there's Noah showing off. There's 4 of us, by the way. And then the bottom right, the result of Noah's showing off for the camera. And as we were skiing down, we were kind of taking it in turns to take photos as well, because like, I don't know, teenagers these days and Instagram and Facebook, right? But yeah. And so another thing people have asked me about Japan is it really safe conditions to ski tour in? And the answer is obviously not always. A lot of people think it's quite safe because there's just not huge, stories about avalanches and stuff like that, but definitely is just as bad as New Zealand, especially this season. In this photo, you can hopefully see some pretty crazy layers there, some rain crust and sun crust underneath that. Thankfully, where we were was pretty good, but like, yeah, it's just as bad as anywhere else, really. Depends where you ski. Depends how much snow there is and what it's been doing. It's the same as anything, really. But yeah, even though it's really light snow, it still slides. And yeah, it was a great wee sign at the start on the second time we did Yotei, because actually someone had passed away the day before we went up on the other side of the volcano, solo touring, which I don't really get behind, but anyway. And I think if you are touring over there, obviously go with people, but just know where to go and things like that. Yeah. And then on the far right, the photo there is of what we call a glide crack, which is what happens is when the snowpack in the springtime warms up, the water melts and goes underneath it, and basically the whole snowpack collapses and slides along the bamboo and grass that's underneath. And these are really ridiculous. This is one I skied into, up to, really nearly skied into, and it's just out of bounds, slightly out of bounds of the ski field. Yeah, it's pretty dangerous. They're just like straight up 4-meter drops, or even, more, however high deep the snow is. And they just sort of really surprise you. And I think they happen slowly, but I wouldn't bet on that. I'm not sure if they just fall away suddenly or slowly glide out. But yeah, you wouldn't want to fall into them. And people do get trapped in them quite often. So that's the thing to watch out for in the springtime if you're touring out there. So what do you do if you've been touring out there all day? Oh, never mind. Here's a great photo of Noah post at the end of the downhill of Yotei. So yeah, pretty stoked. And there's some more. Like, I actually had an awesome video in here, but unfortunately it won't play. But that's good. I'm glad it didn't. Anyway, you can imagine what it was like. It was wicked. Yeah. So there's Noah and me at the bottom, pretty stoked. And then in the middle is a photo of Dom looking back at it. And if you can see my mouse, hopefully, if you can see my mouse, we skied up this ridge here and then up where it is there, and then turned around and skied down and basically down the same thing. Hopefully, if that worked. And then on the right is Noah on the phone to his mum. So, of course, you've got to keep the family updated. And my tactic is don't tell them until afterwards, because if you tell them afterwards, then they don't have to freak out for the whole time. But Noah told his parents before, and so his mum called him about 3/4 of the way up, thinking the time difference and kind of thinking we'd already done it, but we're already halfway up. Anyway, so what do you do after a crazy day of touring in Japan? Wow, starving. So we went to 7-Eleven. There's so many different convenience stores in Japan. So this is something I'm grateful we don't have in New Zealand, because I spent a lot of money at these places. They're super convenient, surprisingly. There's different ones. There's 7-Eleven. There's probably way more than I can't list. There's Lawson's, Seiko Mart, and there's Family Mart. Those are some 4 that I can think of. And you can get anything. It's pretty much like a dairy on steroids. So again, on the left there, you can see there's my crazy burger thing. So this is the staple, and here's a little on the cooking show with Riley, how to create the perfect Lawson's burger. These were a staple for Noah and I and a few of our mates over in Japan. So what you do is there's these buns. Next year you can see them, and no one will be able to spot them, but in the very bottom shelf there's some buns down there. You buy one of those, and then it comes with Kewpie, which is Japanese mayonnaise. And then you walk to the fried chicken counter, and you get two kinds of fried chicken. You can get different flavored ones. And then actually in that photo, I think I was a bit piggish and got 3. Pretty hungry. And you slap it all together, and it costs less than $5, I'm pretty sure. I never really figured it out because the conversions and it's super confusing. But it'll nourish you very well. Lawson's chicken burger. You get really good at making them with your hands while you're walking and stuff. Yeah, I would fully recommend that out of anything. But you can get so much stuff, and notice everything is individually wrapped in plastic. And then it'll be wrapped in a plastic bag, and then there'll be a plastic wrapper on top of it to stop all of the, I don't know, custard or whatever going onto the outside plastic bag, which, and then, of course, after eating and filling yourself up, you need to celebrate. So this is the way you celebrate things in Japan, or I found. So going from left to right, Japan has very cheap whiskey and spirits. And I don't know why, but just kind of to give you an idea, that Canadian club in the top left is 1,240 yen, which is really roughly about $20, which is quite cheap. You can buy whiskey by the 4-liter jug, which is, I don't know what you'd want to do with 4 liters of really crappy whiskey, but anyway. And then in the middle there is the kind of holy grail of Japanese ski bum, sort of dirtbag alcohol drink. It's called a Strong, or a Strong Zero, as that one is. They are very high alcohol, 9%, very cheap. I don't think it's vodka. I don't know what it is. You can get a small can or a big can. They're both 9%, and they're less than, I think they're $1.50, $2. And you can get stupid flavors, basically. So this one here is fried chicken flavored, and it was horrible. It was not as good as, I don't know, you kind of hoped that it would be. But you can get, literally imagine a flavor, and it's probably already there. And then on the far right, there's a photo of someone's flat. And sort of celebrating a bit too much, I guess, making a wall with their drink cans. Anyway. So continued the season, toured a bit more, skied a bit more, went on touring. From the ski field, you can access really good ski touring. So a place, literally, I would recommend going to Niseko, but just for the fact that you can do so much touring from the area. On your day off, or even if you just didn't get work in the morning, you can just get your gear together and go, basically. So some pretty wicked photos. That left one is Dom crossing a bridge over a really steep gully, the stream in the bottom. But there's no railings on the bridge or anything, because it's fully covered in snow, which was pretty cool. It was a bit scary, probably the scariest thing I've skied across. It was pretty interesting. Wasn't very wide, but it was pretty wide. And then on the far right, there's us touring up, again, the other side of the ski field. So the hill that you can see is the back of the ski field, basically. And yeah, it's just like basically unlimited powder. It's wicked. And it's all kind of, you can do it in half a day if you're going fast. It's, yeah, pretty insane. And then over the season, we got to meet lots of Japanese people. It was pretty sick. This is Noah with the bright green goggles, and I'm the guy with the crazy weird line-colored goggles. And on the far left is Riri-san, and she is a lady we met. We basically just keep saying hi to the lifties and talking at the rubbish Japanese that we know. And Riri just like kind of reacted, and we made a friend. She's lovely. She doesn't speak English, but she's sort of like our girlfriend, I guess, our shared girlfriend. We got a photo of her at the end of the season. She was pretty cool. And then just another photo on the right of how else you spend your time. So apart from skiing and stuff, we kind of just did some more skiing, building jumps and stuff at home, and yeah, messing around. That was pretty good way to spend time. I think we spent 4 days off snow until the end, which was pretty good going, I think. Yeah. And then this thing happened, the coronavirus. And so for us, this was like, well, for me, really, it was awesome. Not in a mean way or anything, but just all the clients left. We had no work. It basically got to the point where the ski field told us, our company told us you might as well stop working because there's just no clients. There was like 200 instructors on and 8 people a day booked in for lessons. So we all kind of just quit basically, and went skiing every day, which was awesome. It was empty. With a mask, of course, because the masks help. You won't get coronavirus if you've got a mask, right? So we just continued to do everything with a mask on. Not really, but posing for photos. So yeah, there's a photo in there of rock climbing as well. So I'll talk about that in a minute. But we did a bit of rock climbing too. There's a top right is me skiing on Mount Yote with a face mask, stopping getting the virus. And then in the bottom there, some crazy things happened, like, no mask, no enter. So, they really believe in the masks over there. But anyway, so rock climbing and climbing in Japan, if you're interested in ice or rock climbing, I think it would be a good place to go. I think it would be a bit difficult to start unless you're really skilled up and like really knew where to go, because it took us a while. But we joined the local gym, got a really cool discount for being there for the whole season. Met loads of awesome Japanese climbers that like, really, really strong, really nice guys. Don't speak much English, which was really fun. And just, beautiful climbing style. So this is Fumi on the far left. He's one of my mates from Japan now, and he's a wicked, wicked climber. He does mainly outdoor bouldering. So there's, quite a good amount of bouldering in the area, and a bit of sport climbing as well, quite hard. Seeing as the area is volcanic, kind of like Dunedin, so lots of basalt crags and that kind of thing. And then something for Jazz, Mr. Morris, there's some ice in Japan. It's definitely cold enough for ice, and I've heard that there was ice before I went there. The middle photo, there's a little waterfall that you can see. That's something that we took a photo of, and I bet you that hasn't been climbed. It was in absolute middle of nowhere. It was a pretty insane looking waterfall. It's probably about 10 meters high, so nothing crazy, but I mean, I don't really know about ice climbing, but it's pretty cool to see. And then on the far right is a massive waterfall, some big chandeliers up there. And this is not my photo, of course. This one's from Facebook, but this is from just like a staff page. Someone shared it, asking if there was people out there with gear to go and climb it. So I don't know if it's been climbed either, but I think that there's definitely quite a lot of climbing in our area, but also I know that waterfall on the right is much further north. Pretty good climbing, really. And I think the gyms in Sapporo, so when I went back to Sapporo, all the gyms and stuff were shut because of the virus, so we couldn't go and check them out. But I've heard that they're pretty world class as well. And then I've just got a random photo of Mount Yote and us finishing. So there's Dom and me. that's pretty much it. We basically just had to pack up and leave really quickly. It got really scary, I guess, for a while. It all changed. I was meant to come back in 2 days on like the 18th. So here I am a month early. And it's really weird because I literally haven't told anyone, and now I've told like 71 people. There you go. Because I haven't seen anyone since I got back. So there you go. You're the first people to hear about it. And yeah, I think I got one more photo. There you go. It's Dom going back up Mount Yote. So Yote was the place to be for us. But yeah, I think that's about it. Go to Japan. It's really good.
Awesome. Cheers, Riley.
Yeah.
Hopefully people can now hear me as well. It's Jazz Morris here again. I'm just going to be passing on some of the questions that have come through from Riley's great talk. So, Riley, thanks very much for a great presentation. It sounds like you had an awesome time over there, and a shame that it was cut short, like so many people's adventures, right? So, question from Hillary. Did you experience or like hear about any other ski areas in Hokkaido? And if you did, like, what ones are kind of best for the low key kind of Kiwi skiing vibe? Like, what is Niseko like a good one, or did you like kind of hear there was maybe like one that would,
Right. Good question. Really good question. So there's loads of different ski fields in our area. So I would recommend going to Hokkaido. You could go to Hakuba in the island south of Hokkaido, but this year they had really, really bad conditions. Unless you're looking at the Freeride World Tour, which was held at like 2,000-ish meters, like really, really high up. The actual ski field's really low down compared to that. So Niseko area is pretty awesome for it. I would definitely recommend it. You could do what we did as well. I didn't really mention is that we skied at like lots of other ski fields as well. Notably, Rizitsu it's called. It's a wicked ski field. There's two basically different mountains attached with a gondola in between, and it's in the middle of nowhere, and there's just one massive hotel and like a theme park, and it's all like, people go and stay there and then do some of the theme park stuff. But there's like, it's pretty low key. It's always empty. Got insane skiing terrain. It's sort of like the Triple Cone. It reminds me of Triple Cone. It's kind of like that. But yeah, there's like 10 different ski fields. So a lot of people will do like 5 days in Niseko, maybe 2 at Rizitsu, and then travel around. Like there's just so many different around there. I can note them down if you want to message me about it or anything, but you'd probably be better off Googling it. Yeah. I couldn't recommend any of them more than Niseko really though. Yeah.
All right. Good to know. And in terms of like slack country touring, like can you just kind of shoot off the back of the field or?
Okay, this is something I didn't touch on, is Japan has insane rules about skiing. So for one, if you get caught skiing underneath the chairlift, especially in your uniform, like your pass will just be taken off you instantly. So they hate skiing under the chairlift, probably because the snow gets really low, like high above the chairlift, and like your skis get really close to the ground. I think that's why, but they hate that. They hate ducking ropes. If you duck ropes, you'll get your pass taken off you really quickly. They'll like literally ski off down the mountain after you, like whistling at you like the ski patrol. It's real crazy. I saw it happen a few times. And to go into the backcountry, you have to go through gates. I think I saw someone mention it, which is, exactly right. You have to go through gates, and there's, I don't know, about 15 gates. Don't quote me on that, maybe more. Scattered around the ski field. There's actually out of bounds gates within like a set area in the middle of the ski field. And to go on these areas at the moment, you don't need avalanche gear, which is silly. And as of 2020/2021 season, I think the new rule is that you're going to need a helmet and a transceiver. But I mean, go on there with full avalanche gear because it's not bombed or anything. And then, to get to the back of the ski field, you just have to go through a gate. It's pretty straightforward. They're all in good spots as well to get out there. Yeah, but you don't have to sign off with anyone.
Cool. And do you know, is that just at Niseko, or are there quite a few?
I'm pretty sure that's the general vibe around the ski fields. You sort of have to go through the gates and out there's certain areas. But for example, like Yote, obviously you just drive up there and ski. Like, there's no one there.
All right.
Yeah.
I've got a question, which is something I've actually kind of always wanted to go to Japan. Like, what level of Japanese is kind of needed to turn up there and get around, use the public transport, like get a hostel room or whatever?
Good question. Not really that much. You don't really need to learn Japanese or anything to go there. I can do really, really basic conversational Japanese. And the funny thing is that we were living in Kucham, which is definitely like locals area. And throughout the whole season, we didn't meet anyone, like any local that spoke English, until about the second last day. We're at the supermarket and she said hello, and we were like, whoa. It was super weird. She was speaking English and we're like, wow, this is crazy. You know English. But yeah, apart from that, like wherever you're going skiing, they pretty much know English. So the local areas, not so much. And then all like the ATMs and train ticket machines and stuff all have an English button. So it's pretty easy. They know that tourism is their main money maker, so they've made it easy.
All right. Good one. Hey, I haven't spotted any more questions on the chat, which probably means you've covered it off super well. Just want to say thanks heaps for your talk, Riley. It's really good.
Worries.
And I don't know where your old man went, but
he's right here. He's just on the couch where I was. Look at this.
Good one. Hey, well, this has been the first of might be a few NZAC evening talks. We've got one next week, same time, 8 p.m. on Thursday, and that's with Nick Allen, who we're well known to many Kiwis as an adventurer and one who's overcomes pretty extraordinary challenges to get to where he is, and he's an outstanding speaker and just an all-around sort of super nice guy. And I'm looking forward to his talk. So thanks very much to the Smith family for kicking things off. This is potentially the kind of father and son dynasty of the Alpine Club in years to come, which is slightly concerning, but
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Hey, thanks.
It's been nice to have you at our place.
Yeah. Thanks for coming over.
And thanks everyone watching. I didn't quite keep up with the numbers, but I saw 80 plus people online at a couple of points there. Really appreciate your support, guys, and we hope this has been entertaining. I had one message come through saying they've already got their value for money on membership. Just seeing this, so I don't know if that was just fully taking the piss or what, but no, I think this has been fun, and I look forward to seeing everyone who's on the video out in the hills soon, and stay safe, guys. Thank you very much.
Thanks very much.
Cheers, everybody. Thank you.
Bye.
Join the New Zealand Alpine Club today and be a part of New Zealand's proud mountain community, supporting adventure since 1891. Membership benefits include discounts at our extensive network of huts nationwide, a range of courses and learning opportunities for aspiring climbers, led by the country's best instructors, a subscription to The Climber, New Zealand's only magazine devoted to climbing, as well as the New Zealand Alpine Journal. Travel insurance options allowing for climbing and other adventure activities not covered by standard policies. Perfect for your next adventure abroad. Plus, New Zealand Alpine Club membership also grants a variety of discounts at ski fields, climbing walls, and outdoor retailers nationwide. Leadership and community for all who enjoy and wish to protect our magnificent crags and mountain spaces. The New Zealand Alpine Club, a voice for New Zealand's mountain lovers. Join us today. For more information, visit alpineclub.org.nz.